and welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoy this video. Well, hello everyone, and it's a real pleasure to be with you once again, and it is me, your favourite host of Ancient Mysteries, Dr. Charles. But I have to tell you, a viewer of the channel sent this to me the other night, and it is from Peru, and we see some fascinating things happening here. Some fascinating things. We have here a dark-haired person, bit of red hair. We have a blonde. We have a redhead, and we have two platinum blondes. These platinum blondes, I saw them in back in Galway. You see real-life platinum blondes walking around, and in Ireland. On the Atlantic coast. It's just, it's fascinating, and this is all from Peru. What's going on? Well, we said in the other video what's going on, didn't we? And didn't we say that that is basically that? I find that so interesting, so strange and fascinating and weird, and it's just amazing. And in this video, we're going to expose much more information about what's happening between the Khipu, and we're even going to expose the stone language of Ireland, but more on that later, because some of the medieval records might actually show the stone language in action. But first, I'm going to look, we're going to just have a quick peek at some more information about what's going on. So there are extra letters in this language, and we're calling it Ogham, the Ogham language, because someone pointed out it's not Ogham. I'm pronouncing it Ogham. I should be pronouncing it Ogham. So in order to pronounce it, we're going to pronounce it Ogham. There's a silent G. Okay. So what's happening here? Do you see this here? Elbow. This thing here, it's elbow. And then there's these other extra symbols. What's going on? Well, I put it to you, these are in the QUIPU script. So we're going to prove that right now. We love to prove things on this channel. So there's the elbow, and it wraps around another, so this is an ui. This is an ui, that's what it's called. So there it is. It's right there. I mean, why would you have that? It curls, it twists around. And even on another, there we go, on this, it's actually a curl. It's a curly thing, you see? I find that just amazing, right there. And we have other characters as well that we can start to explain. So there's the curly thing again, but it's almost like a helix. And here we actually do have a double helix, the way it twists around there. That's another extra character. That could be the IA, right? That is very similar to what's going on there, which is absolutely fascinating. There it is again, IA. So these are diphthongs, where you put the two vowels together, and so these special characters are how you would pronounce the diphthongs. I find that just amazing, just absolutely incredible. So they're the special characters. Also, we have Okay, so where were we? We were talking about the Khipu. So I found a website here which has even more evidence by a guy called Tom Phillips, and he's made a nice little website here. And he's and there we go again. With these. I just want to point this out quickly. So what we have happening here is, he's written E-G. These are not letters. He's lettered them. This is a guy called Locke back in 1923. He's lettered them A to L, but these are not the letters of the alphabet. This is just a key of all the different knots of the Khipu that he's found. So, but funnily enough, synchronicity is working. So what I think is the letter E with a 1, 2, 3, 4 across is he's lettered at the letter E, and what I think is the letter G, two slashes, the letter G. But so that's quite interesting. Several of the others are the same as well. What he's done is the F with a three across is also an F. But the other ones, who knows what they are. They could be probably one of these, right? So it's so interesting. Now, there's more, guys. There's a lot more I wanted to show you as well. So there is a stone language which is written in the Book of Ballymote, which I find quite interesting. So this is the Book of Ballymote. It records the Ogham. It's huge. It's not just the Ogham. There's other things going on here as well. So I want to show you, for example, over here, there's lines and dots. So there's dots in addition to other, and there's extra symbols which they're not showing in the modern alphabet because maybe they haven't seen these in inscriptions yet. And in addition, we have these bevelings have different letters, which is just weird. And I was thinking, what kind of letters are these? Are they Greek letters or something? It almost looks like a lambda, pi, delta, omega. I don't think so. This is a medieval manuscript, and back in my group at uni, there was someone who could actually straight out read that. I cannot. It's a Gothic minuscule script. It's a bit weird. It's a bit hard to read. But these are Latin letters. So possibly an H, possibly a something else. I'm not sure what the letters are. But you see here, there's a script. So when we go to, say, looking at something like that, this is an Irish Ogham thing, and we have here a kind of beveled language, which is fascinating, just absolutely fascinating. There's more. There's a lot more. Let's look at, for example, this. We have Ogham, and then it's beveled in a certain way. There's more. This harkens back to what I was talking before. This is the best picture I find online. It's a tiny resolution, but it's the best one I find online with the Ogham extra characters. You have a primitive type of Celtic cross, just a sort of circle, like 4-quadrant kind of thing. And you've got the Ogham, snake-like. Here you've got the loop character. And here you have a twist, so it's almost twisting like a knot. This could be primitive Ogham in this. And then we go to looking at things such as, say, at Tiwanaku, where we have beveling happening in a building. So you could start to use the Book of Ballymote, if you wanted, to read what is happening on a building. Buildings could be interpreted. So imagine, put yourself 1,000 years ago, or even 2,000 years ago, because this is 400 BC. A Tiwanaku tour guide is walking you around through the palace and explaining how to read the building. This isn't just accidental. This is deliberate. These people didn't have the internet or anything. They had a lot of time on their hands, and there's even a drainage system here coming out of what would have been a huge palace-like complex. And we've only got a couple stones left because they were all quarried. But yeah, just absolutely fascinating. There's more, guys. I wouldn't just make a video about that. No way. If we're looking at spirals and knots and things, we should look at the Book of Kells. Now, the Book of Kells is a bit weird. It's a bit strange. It's a bit odd, because what's happening in the Book of Kells is it actually surprised me, because it's a manuscript. And it's not just a medieval manuscript, guys. It's an ancient manuscript. AD 800, that's almost late antiquity. And it is testament to the incredible craftsmanship of the medieval Irish monks, believed to have created it while on the remote island of Ionia in Scotland, despite Viking raids, thefts and fights between the various Irish and English factions. So I'm actually shocked that this thing has survived. It's unbelievable, because we see snake religion. Look at this. Do you see... he's drawn serpents here, serpents with eyeballs, and there's knots, the Celtic knots happening. And the Celtic knot is, of course, well, we know what it is. It's basically the Ogham. So this is extraordinary. We see the knots, we see the dragon, sea serpents. And this is all knotted up, because if they were drawing knots, they were making knots. And this is lots of Celtic art is based on the Book of Kells. We see all these knots everywhere. They loved this stuff. They were twisting around ropes all day, because what else do you do on a remote island apart from the bare necessities? You have to have hobbies and stuff, little puzzles. They didn't have Rubik's Cube. They were tying knots. It was their passion and joy. Book of Kells, absolutely extraordinary. There's a lot you could decipher in the Book of Kells using what I'm calling the stone language as well. Let's look more at the Book of Kells. It's just absolutely absolutely a fascinating. This is a knot. This is a knot. This is sort of like a Khipu. All I need now is monks wearing quipus, and they did, because that website I showed you here, this guy here, Tom Phillips. I go down, and he actually writes, look, detail of a fresco. Painted 1297 to 1300 and sometimes attributed to Giotto in the upper church of San Francesco in Assisi. The saint is shown wearing the habit and cincture of his followers. In particular, the cincture has distinctive knots on the hanging end. And he basically says the Franciscan friar is tied the way you would tie a quipu. You loop it round and then through several times like you'd tie a tie almost, you see. And friars' knots are sometimes found in quipus. Now, we know that monks lived all around Europe. Monastic orders, they lived set up in one country, were set up in other countries. Monastic orders in the Middle Ages were we don't even call them nations, we call them kingdoms. So monastic orders in the Middle Ages were interregnal, they were everywhere. And so why not in the New World as well? They would have had monastic. They would have spread to the New World. Say Machu Picchu is obviously an Irish monastery. There's nothing else you could describe it as if you look at the architecture. This is just absolutely incredible. So they were spreading this stuff around, and there's more stuff I want to show you guys. It's the stone language. So we need to have a damn good look, for instance, at, wait till you see it, Newgrange. So in Newgrange, we start to see spirals and squares with bevels on them. So think back to the Book of Ballymote, we've got the code right there. We've got the code right there to read this. Different types of twists on different angles. There's the elbows, so there's not just an E, but it's a Q as well. It's loops, cross-hatchings, all sorts of things. And this isn't even all of it. This is just what the monk wanted to write down for us, for posterity. And he wrote this in the 1300s. And he himself, his people probably didn't use this. He just wanted to record this. He asked probably the old people how to read it, and he wrote this down. But Newgrange is 3000 BC. We start to see the same sort of beveling things happening. The spirals as well. Now, I've got to tell you now, straight off, the triple spiral is the triple goddess, because the goddess is a snake woman. So we have she has a triple snake as part of her identity. Also, the bird was part of her identity as well. Now, there's different numbers of swirls here, so we can start to look at we can see the different numbers of bevelings correspond to a code. And people have always said, hey, this is a kind of code, isn't this a kind of code? And especially this stone here, people have said, look, that's obviously writing. And look, we're starting to see almost knots here, ties. This is the beginnings of Celtic art in 3000 BC. Guys, I put it to you that some of these Irish manuscripts, such as the Book of Ballymote, and there's a couple more, preserve not just Ogham. It's not just Ogham they're preserving. Look here, they are preserving a type of stone language, lines, dots, cup and ring marks, right? This is going back, This is going back to the Stone Ages, people. I'm so fascinated about this. Even these lozenges here, they've got a certain number of bevels, a certain number of dots. It's writing, people, and that's the evidence that is actually writing. You could use this to maybe you wouldn't be able to read this. Firstly, what language is it? What language are we talking? Who knows? There's been so many invasions of Ireland. I would try Basque, or I would try Proto-Indo-European for this, which is the Aryan language. But yeah, it's not going to be easy. But we've even got cross-hatching, which is one of the it's one of the diphthongs of Ogham. So we can start to look at and read the stone language even, because we know these people were in the New World as well, because the Irish jewellery of the Dublin Museum, as I pointed out in the previous video, I'm just going to bring it up just now, is American jewellery. And if you don't believe me, I'll just bring it up very quickly. We're just going to bring it up super quick. There it is. American jewellery, but it's found in ancient Ireland. So they've been travelling to Ireland, not just in the Middle Ages, but for thousands of years. Cheers, guys. Now, do you know what? I've written a couple books. One of them is probably the best ancient astronauts, one of the best ancient astronauts books ever written. It's called Confessions of the Gods. Check it out, Kindle or paperback on Amazon. And also a Pyramids book. The Pyramids book is basically, well, it's 137 photos of sites you can visit in Europe, which are prototypes of pyramids. That's an amazing book. It's much deeper reading than the other book, Confessions, but check them out on Kindle and paperback. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this. And also hit me up on Patreon. Cheers. Bye-bye.